Welcome back, friends. I am so glad you're here with me today. Today, I want to get really honest about a kind of grief that many of us carry really quietly: the ache of feeling unseen, unsupported, and even abandoned by spiritual, religious people who we thought would show up for us. Maybe it's family, maybe it's your church, maybe it's a friend who promised to always be there for you. But when this really hard season came, they didn't get in the trenches with you. I have lived this in different chapters of my life, from marriage struggles to miscarriages to leaving a church community. I know how lonely this feels. But I also know this: Jesus did see me, and Jesus did stop and get in the trenches with me. He did carry me when others passed by. So if this stirs something inside of you, stay with me. You are not alone.
Hey mama, welcome to Intimacy After Infidelity. Do you find yourself Googling, can a marriage survive infidelity? Or what's the first step to divorce? Do you wake up full of hope, only to end the day with more shame when there's another stupid argument again? Hey, I'm Christina Joy, forgiven daughter of Jesus. I too felt the shame of infidelity and wished someone had a roadmap for how to get out of the mess so I could experience freedom. I kept telling myself I just needed to try harder to end the affair and fix my marriage, until I found I needed Jesus to heal some deep wounds in my heart. Through prayer, lots of research, and developing new healthy habits, I was able to find healing to shed my shame once and for all. Now I'm excited to share everything I've learned with you. So find your safe space and pop in that earbud. Let's rebuild your life and marriage better than it's ever been.
Sister, before we dive in, if you are listening to this today and you feel like this is speaking directly to your heart, I want to invite you to take a bold, courageous step. Would you book a one-on-one call with me? This is your space to exhale, to process what has been so heavy to carry. This is your space to be seen and heard without judgment, without shame. In this coaching call, we can look at where you're at, the grief that you've been holding, and how to move forward towards freedom, peace, and deep connection again with God. You don't have to figure this out alone. If you have been waiting for someone to reach out, consider this your invitation. Would you DM me the word call on Instagram or email me at Christina@ChristinaJoyCoaching.com, and we will see if it's the next right step for you. All right, so my first real awareness of this abandonment came actually in the first year of my marriage. There was a married couple with a men's marriage ministry, and this couple came to speak at our church. And I remember the one night we were in a women's group, and the wife used me as an example and said something like, how different would marriages be if the church surrounded newlyweds like Christina from the start? And I thought, yes. It felt like the spotlight was on me. And in my head, I was saying, this is what I need. Are women, that I'm sitting beside, women to my right and left, are they going to remember that? Are they going to see me? Are they going to reach out to me? Are they going to get in the trenches with me? Because already I feel like I'm navigating something that's really new and really messy and really hard. All of this stuff that's wrapped up in marriage. But guess what? Years went by and that never happened. Now, don't get me wrong. The women at church were lovely and polite and kind, and it seemed like it was always on a Sunday. If I asked for prayer, of course they were going to pray for me. They would check in with me on a Sunday. But no one really dug deep into my life. No one came over to sit on my couch. No one said, hey, let's talk about what's really going on. How is marriage for you? Now, behind the scenes, we were going through job losses, 2 miscarriages, even the birth of our first and second babies. And no one showed up outside of Sunday mornings. And I never felt like I could tell anybody about even my husband's porn addiction, because that was way too vulnerable. I couldn't air his dirty laundry to other people. And honestly, I didn't trust anyone else to know what to do with that information. So his issues, my issues with the affair, I kept it to myself. And I quietly grieved this dream that older women in the church would seek me out and invest in me. They didn't. And so I grieved it. And so without realizing it, I carried that ache into every other season of my life. Now, here's the thing. Back then, I didn't know what to ask for. There was one season in particular where I really was in a state of depression, especially after my miscarriages. And I didn't have the capacity to put words to what I needed. I didn't know how to say, "I'm drowning, please help." And honestly, I don't think that's unusual. When you're deep in grief and pain, you can't advocate for yourself. That's why we need other people to notice and to reach out and to initiate. I didn't need someone to necessarily fix my life. I didn't need some intense intervention. I just needed somebody to see me and to maybe text me out of the blue. "Hey, no need to respond, but I'm thinking of you. How can I pray for you this week?" Or even, "Hey, you can be honest with me. How's your marriage really doing?" It wasn't that I needed these grand gestures. I really just needed presence. But that didn't happen. And I know that I am not the only one who has walked through that kind of invisible loneliness. And that is when the story of the Good Samaritan in Luke 10 started to mean something different to me. If you're not familiar with the story of the Good Samaritan, it's a parable, a story that Jesus told as an illustration. A man is beaten and robbed and left for dead on the side of the road. And a priest walks by, kind of like a pastor. Also, a Levite walks by, another religious leader, a minister. Both of these people see this man that was left for dead, and they walk by on the other side of the road. However, it was a Samaritan, the one that was least expected to stop and help. He's the one that sees this man, has compassion on him, and stops to help. Now, here's the thing. Jesus has been my Good Samaritan. When the religious leaders passed me by, when the ones that I thought should care didn't, Jesus still stopped for me. And in the image of that story, Jesus is the one who got off the donkey, wrapped me in his righteousness and dignity, and carried me to safety. Just like in the story, the Samaritan took the man to a safe inn where he could heal and recover. Now, sometimes that looked like Jesus orchestrating a space for me to confess my affair and be baptized again. And sometimes it looked like providing people when I was actually praying for God to provide money. But one day my coach reminded me, God has been sending you relationships, encouragement, community, because God knows that that's what you really need in this season. God saw me. He acted on my behalf. He didn't wait for me to have the perfect words or a polished prayer. He met me on the side of the road in the mess and carried me home. And he wants to do that for you too. Now, I want to be honest with you. I'm still in process. I'm still in the trenches with you. I'm still uncovering layers of grief from moments and seasons when no one showed up. Sometimes it's a fresh hurt, like realizing no one from church reached out after my miscarriages. And sometimes it's decades old, Like acknowledging that even as a kid, my dad and my brother didn't reach out to me emotionally. So here's the shift. Now I can sit with all of these different memories with Jesus. I look for evidence of how he was present in those specific situations, how he protected me, how he provided for me, and how he carried me when I didn't know what to ask for. It's not an either or. I can grieve what I wish had happened, and I can still be grateful for how God showed up. I can acknowledge the hurt and the pain, and I can still thank him for his provision in the midst of that. Sister, that is healing when grief and gratitude can sit side by side. So if you are listening and feel like, man, people should have been there for me and they weren't, I just want to say to you, I am so sorry. I won't minimize it. I'm not going to excuse it away. My heart truly hurts with you. You might know in your head how church or community is supposed to work, but in your experience, people weren't perfect. And that's true. There is no perfect church or community on this side of heaven. But sister, I would gently invite you to just consider forgiveness and this next level of healing. That does not excuse their absence or give them access to your life again. But forgiveness and your healing releases your heart from the poison of bitterness. Forgiveness is for your freedom. And as you grieve what didn't happen, your heart can slowly open to new relationships and new expressions of God's love for you. Friend, you do not have to do this alone. If you need a private space to process this grief and let Jesus begin healing the wounds that people have caused or people that have overlooked you, sister, I would be honored to walk that journey with you. Would you, again, do a brave and courageous act? And would you book a one-on-one call with me? You can DM me the word call on Instagram, and I'll know what that means. Or you can email me, Christina@ChristinaJoyCoaching.com. Or, honestly, if you're craving a space to heal in community because you're ready to give other women another chance, that's exactly what my group Coming Home to Freedom is all about. It includes a course, but more importantly, it includes the group coaching calls where you can be seen and heard and supported, maybe for the first time on your journey. You were not meant to heal in isolation. Sister, let's take this next step together. Jesus, for every woman listening now who feels overlooked, unseen, abandoned, I ask that you would meet her right where she is today. Remind her that you are the one who sees her, the one who stops and carries her home. God, would you comfort her in her grief? Would you let her feel safe enough to bring her pain to you? And let gratitude rise up again as she remembers how you have been faithful all along. Jesus, we love you. Amen.